Let's just say this, certainly a lot of credit to Coach Farley. Their young quarterback, I thought, played an outstanding football game. You know what you're going to get in this football game, and that's why I really enjoy playing this game, because it demands you be your best right out the gate. Were we perfect today? Obviously no, and I'm not going to sit here and say that we were, but I will tell you this. I really love this team. I think the character resolve of this team had to show. I think it's really huge for us. These are some of the moments that maybe we didn't get a year ago. From an evaluation standpoint, what's our strengths, what's our weaknesses, that we can continue to go and make great changes. And so we knew it wasn't going to be perfect. I think there were some really good things that occurred today, and I think the greatest thing that occurred today, obviously for us, was the fact that our leadership and the guys who needed to make plays when it mattered most stepped up and made great plays. So with that said, I think it's hard to tell, because I thought we really ran the ball extremely well. I think that, schematically we did some things early, didn't know exactly what we were going to get. I thought we made some great changes, and you got to remember some of those big run plays get called back, with the Campbell thing and some of those, holding call. But to me, I think there was growth. I'll be really honest with you. When we needed those guys the most, I thought they did a really good job today. So Randy, when we have an opportunity to meet again and I can watch the film, I'll probably give you a better evaluation of it. But again, when I go back to, some critical moments, those guys were able to step up and really run the football. I think we got to continue to put them in the best position to run the football with great success. And I think that's the one thing. Sheldon's like the rock in there, and I think, again, for us, you guys, everybody, that's been the hot topic. Who's the tailback? Well, I think for us, you need these moments in these games and these situations to continue to figure that out. And I think all guys had spurts of positive things that happened. Johnny had a couple good runs. Obviously, Brees had a couple good runs. Kane got dinged up. We'll see what that situation looks like. And then, Sheldon coming in and really steadying the ship at the end of the football game. So, all guys can do a lot of different things. Did I think somebody was just separated themselves? I wouldn't say that today either, but I think it'll be a little while until we figure that out, until those guys get into a groove. Honestly, and that happened so late in the game that I didn't even get something. It looked, from a physical standpoint, that it wasn't going to be a terrible situation, but again, those will be things that I'll have better answers for you by Monday or Tuesday. I saw who was underneath the pile, and so I knew who would come out with it. And I'll be really honest with you, isn't that defining of who that kid is? I really think it is. And, I think Brock would tell you the first half he was pressing. And, Northern Iowa's defense forces you to press, because they kind of play back and they don't really give you much, and they kind of make you dink and doink your way down the field. And I think he was anticipating the big play, and I thought what he did a great job of is collected his poise. And when we needed him the most, he was incredible. The throw to Petway, there are not many guys in the country that can make that throw. But that's exactly what I was thinking. When I saw him there, I felt like, well, you know what, we'll be in great shape. And I think Sheldon's earned that, over time. Now, Sheldon would tell you he's not always been perfect either, and he's had to work really hard to get where he's at. But I think that's where, getting a guy like Petway, getting a guy like Sheldon Croney, getting some guys on the offensive side, we're ushering in some new faces and new names, and this is the first time under the lights with people out there. There's going to be growing pains, and to have some guys that can at least steady the ship for you, why some of these other guys really start to get comfortable in their roles and what they can do for our football team. I think Deshaunte Jones, honestly becomes, in my mind, he's probably the player of the game from an offensive standpoint. What he did in the game is what you hope a senior that's played a lot of football here would do. The one-handed catch is the one that sticks in my mind, but I know he had a lot of really great things that occurred. But, proud of Deshaunte. He's taken a leadership role in that room, and I think this gives him even more credibility of that leadership role as we continue to move ourselves forward. I said this a little bit before we started the season. Our last time we were together is I really thought Orion had maybe his best 15, 16 practices that I've seen. And, I've always been a big Orion Vance fan. A year ago in the spring, he had an incredible spring and kind of got dinged up in the summer and lost his way for a little bit. And then all of a sudden, even in some of our big moments a year ago, he did some great things, but it was that consistency. It was the ability to do the little things consistently. And he's changed his life. He's changed who he is. how he sleeps, how he eats, how he approaches things, and what we've gotten is the best Orion Vance that I think Iowa State's seen. So he's earned that right to be in our starting 11, but it's great to have flexibility because you saw Will in there at times. He can play in there, Paul Vermacher, and Mike can move around a lot, so it gives us a lot of flexibility.
Did it feel like
yeah, I mean, it felt like a football game again, and I don't mean to be funny about that. I just think when you haven't played for 8 months, 9 months, and all you're doing in our sport is trying to replicate those situations, I think that becomes really hard until it's really real. And so our story's never going to change. We are going to always have to win in the margins. That's not going to, we didn't just become somebody we're not. We know who we are, and the fact of the matter, we did at times and we didn't at times. And so, we better learn from it, we better grow from it, and I think, again, what am I excited about? I'm excited that we've got a week that we can really put our focus entirely back on our program, who we are, take this videotape, what did we do well, what didn't we do well, and then move ourselves forward. But again, you got to give some credit to you and I too. I mean, I said this, what did I say on Tuesday about Will? I mean, we recruited him here. We thought he was a heck of a football player, and you saw why I think he was a heck of a football player. Improvise, feet, ability to keep his eyes downfield and make great plays. Unbelievable competitor, and he did the same thing in high school. I don't know, it's not humbling to me or our kids, because I don't think we think we're anything we're not. I don't think you saw our kids blink. I think you saw them just keep playing. I don't think it was an attitude and effort. If it was an attitude and effort issue, I think that'd be greatly humbling. We've all been here, and nothing's been easy for 3 years. The only people I think that thinks it's going to be easy are sometimes outside of our walls because expectations occur. But I don't think it was very humbling for any of us, because I don't think any of our character changed throughout the football game. Obviously, some of the situations that went for us and against us, we just had to handle, and we put ourselves in some of those situations. So hopefully we can continue to learn and grow, just like I've really felt our program's always done. And we've talked about that. I think all three of those players are really good players. And Chase got dinged up a little bit at the end of fall camp, so getting him back to complete health. He certainly wasn't there today, but I think he'll be, hopefully with this extended time, we can get him back to 100% health. I think that'll really help our football team and give us the ability to continue to be creative with those three tight ends. And in some critical moments, those guys showed up. We were, in years past, we were 11 personnel or 10 personnel at the end of games, and at the end of the game, you saw us in 13 personnel quite a bit. So, we trust them. They've proven it. And again, those guys will just have to continue to have major roles for our football team as we move forward. And again, being the big playmaker, we got to temper that just a bit. But I think what he did do on Saturday today, I thought he did a great job of making the plays he needed to make and controlling what he needed to. Pet's a big physical player. He would tell you, I think he was a little bit raw coming into fall camp. He didn't get spring practice. I think that's always really hard. And I think the great thing about him is, again, this is a credit of the leadership of a guy like Brock, is you just saw him keep kind of guiding him and growing him. And you saw Deshante, and you saw some of those guys see in Pet what he had the ability to do. And again, I give Coach Shieldhouse a lot of credit too. I think he's done a great job in the development of Pet and staying the course with him, being positive rather than negative when things were maybe tough early on. So I just think that, and again, there's he'll continue to have to grow, but I thought he did some great things today. I don't want to say I'm not loud, because I don't want other people to figure that out just yet, but I think there was enough there that areas that I went into saying this can be a challenge if we're not where we need to be, showed up. And I think those are things that we are either going to have to correct with getting better, continue to find the right guys to put into the football game, but I think that's what playing a real game gives you. And again, I think without watching it, it'd be really fair for me to sit up here too and give you an evaluation of some of those areas until I can watch the film and then have a better understanding of exactly what that looks like. But I think some of that stuff to me, Jared, jumped off, and it was good. We needed it. And, I think some of those guys maybe played good and maybe played inconsistent at times, but fought through it a little bit too. I just think from Brock's standpoint, doing, number one, I think teams will do a great job of being prepared for Brock's ability to move in the pocket and do some of those things. Now, he did a great job. If there wasn't a holding call, he would have scored on that play. But I just think, again, when you have some tight ends and you have some ability to create edges, there's times where maybe you don't have to use that guy as so much of an open advantage. But again, I thought Brock, where his growth came from too, a little bit, is stepping up in the pocket and throwing the football. And there were times last year where growth happens, you're athletic, you're the young guy, and you're kind of scrambling around instead of just sitting in there and really kind of delivering the football. I thought he did some great things with that today for sure. I think that really talented guys, when they're the quarterback spot that can run and improvise, that's a tough challenge. And I think we knew what was coming because we knew what Will stood for. And again, I think we saw so much of Will in high school that we had a really good understanding of what that looked like and felt like. And, whether it was a little bit of us wearing down, I thought we did a really good job in the first 3 quarters of the game. But I thought as that game went on, you saw his athleticism start to take over and have the ability to create. So, that's a great question. I think it's probably a little bit of both, but a guy that, again, a lot of respect for from our end and my end. Every time I looked on the field, 23 was either making a play in the backfield, was setting the edge on the perimeter. I mean, that kid's really special. And I mean, think about what he did today, from being the Mike linebacker to being the Sam linebacker, and then playing at the level that he played at today was powerful. And I think, again, Marcel's situation, I'll have to go back and watch, but I mean, I know what I get from Marcel Spears. He's the same guy pretty much every game, and I thought his character and leadership down the stretch was really big too. He was the guy in both huddles that was kind of leading the charge. So again, all positive from my end, at least right now. I think Will can do so many things, and he's such an athletic person that he gives you the ability to move him around and do some different things. And man, the play he made, he had a sack early in the game, kind of missed it, and had the ability to come back. And again, he was one of those guys, and I think there was a lot of those situations today, where it's the first game, it starts to get tight, we miss a play, and then next thing you know, you see that guy correct the mistake and come back and do it. And I think about Will, I talked about Connor Sally, comes back and really huge for us. Peyton Paddocks did the same thing. So we had guys that really, I thought, for the first time out there, made some mistakes, but really worked hard to come back and make some great plays for us down the stretch. Yeah, and again, you win, lose, draw, no matter what the score, in my opinion, this second week was huge for us. And to me, like I said a little bit on our last press conference, I really love the ability to have a bye week, because to me it allows us to really use this as an evaluation tool, almost an extension of camp, and really do a great job now going into the bye week of saying, who are we? How do we continue to develop a plan around both sides of the football and special teams, and then see where we're at. So I think it's huge for this team. We've got enough youth and enough veterans that there's a lot of work to be done, and we're going to have to do a great job worrying about Iowa State here for the next 7 days. Again, I think when you look at just the rushing statistics, I think they were, you saw from our end the line going the opposite way, and you saw Jamal Johnson and Ray Lima, you saw some of those guys make some really good plays. And to me, when I'm anxious to go now, what did the discipline look like? Vertical takeoff, the ability to reestablish the line of scrimmage. I think we did some great things. What about the discipline of what we needed to do in that football game? And again, I'll have answers for that after I get to watch the film, but I certainly saw the foundation of what I've seen in the past.